everyone, and welcome back to Tales from the TBR. My name is Dorothy, and today I'm going to be pushing my agenda to get you to read books that I'm obsessed with, which honestly, I'm sure some of you guys might know some of them. If not, maybe all of them. But these are books that I highly recommend, and I think everyone should at least try to read. I do understand that not all of these are meant to be for everyone. Everyone has different reading styles. However, these are my favorite books, and I think that y'all should read them. So, without further ado, let's start with the fantasy books. Starting with none other than A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross.
Hi, this is Editing Dorothy here to tell you that I am aware that I said A Fire Endless, which is the sequel to A River Enchanted, which I have not yet read. And for some reason, I said it with my whole chest, but I am holding up A River Enchanted, which is the book I'm talking about. I'm not talking about A Fire Endless, which I have not read. I apologize for what I've done. Please forgive me. Now let's go back to me talking about this recommendation.
I read this in 2022. I am still obsessed with it. I think that this world is super intriguing. The magic in this world is super intriguing. The differences between the cultures in this world is super intriguing. Jack and Adira are literally everything, and I love them. And the audiobook for this has someone with, I think it's either a Scottish or Irish accent, which just adds to the beauty of this book. And I genuinely think everyone needs to read it. I just am genuinely obsessed, and I will continue to recommend this until I run out of breath. The next two is going to come as no surprise, but that will be Legendborn and Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I read both of these in 2022. Bloodmarked almost the instant it came out last year, and Legendborn was read back in March. I am still obsessed with this series. I cannot wait until the third one comes out whenever Tracy Deonn gives it to us. Bree is an amazing protagonist, and her journey into this world of the Legendborn is beautiful. This is iconic YA fantasy, and if every single YA fantasy was like this, I would read a lot more YA fantasy. Again, the audiobooks for this are how I mainly read the series, and let me say, the audiobooks also add something to it. There is a southern accent involved, which fits perfectly considering that we are in the South in this story. I could talk about this till I'm black and blue in the face, but truly, everyone needs to read Legendborn and Bloodmarked. They are beautiful stories, and I think that they're just quintessential to the world at this point for me. So I'm not sorry. The next series is also still YA, but it is not fantasy. I believe that this would be a mystery YA series, and that is going to be the Inheritance Games trilogy with the Inheritance Games, Hawthorne Legacy, and Final Gambit. The Final Gambit came out in 2022, and I read it last year. I technically read all three of these last year, and overall loved them. This is a series I know that I don't talk about as much as the rest of these, but I genuinely love them, and the audiobook does make it go by a lot faster. The chapters are super short, the mystery is very intriguing, and when you finally figure out what all of this was about, it kind of makes your brain go, huh, in like the best way possible. I really enjoyed the Hawthorne brothers. I think that they are super interesting. I cannot wait for the Brothers Hawthorne book that's coming out next year. And genuinely, I will be Team Grayson until the rest of my life because he's beautiful and I love him. Obviously, we love the morally gray character. I do understand, though, that some of the people might find Avery pretty annoying, which is fine, and I get it because she kind of is, but I think once you get past that, you can really enjoy the story. So I will continue to recommend this if anyone wants a YA mystery series. Next up, we are talking about YA Contemporary. which, as you guys know, 4 of these books are not going to shock you. One of them might, because I don't talk about it that much, but granted, I'm still obsessed with it to this day. So without further ado, let's talk about the one that's going to surprise you, and then we can talk about the other 4. The first being The Quantum Weirdness of the Almost Kiss by Amy Noel Parks. I have not talked about this book on my channel, but honestly, I am still in love with this book. If you guys don't know, this follows, let me double check their names, Caleb and Evie. Caleb and Evie have been best friends like their entire lives, and they have almost kissed, I believe, like maybe 14 times. Yes. Caleb has almost kissed Evie 14 times. This is the story of their friendship, and they're working on this very intellectual project, but when you come to terms with everything, and their story comes to a culmination, it's truly just beautiful, and I still love it to this day. I want to reread this so bad because I think it's genuinely so good. Caleb and Evie are an amazing couple, and I think that their different perspectives on the world is very, very interesting. This also has mental health representation, which I think is very important in the YA category because it's not often seen, at least for the books that I've read or read in the past. I love this, and I think you guys should read it. I think it is the perfect, snappy book that just might get you out of a slump. Now, the next 4, I'm sure are not going to surprise you at all. But first, we have these 2 books by Taishi Buyin, Counting Down With You and A Show for Two. Both of these books are 5 stars. I love them so much. Ace is an amazing male protagonist, like down to the core, and Mina in this is just a beautiful protagonist in general. Both of these books have such great mental health representation in them. Taishi Buyin does a great job of giving her protagonists beautiful journeys to go on. Both of them are POC and give light to the, I believe it is Indian culture that I, granted, am not very familiar with outside of these books, but I think that giving this representation is very important and goes against the stereotypes that often I have seen within media. I love these books so much. Karina in this book wrecked me to my core, and Ace is the perfect boyfriend for her, and genuinely I love them. In this, Mina and what's his name? Mina and Emmett are such an interesting pairing considering how they originally first meet. As you guys can see, I've tabbed this to hell and back. I think it is beautiful, and the anxiety representation in here is also beautiful. I can't recommend these 2 enough. I think they are beautiful YA contemporaries and will for sure get you out of a slump and also absolutely wreck your heart. Just read them, please. Thank you. And if you do read them and you don't like them, don't tell me. The next 2 are also not going to surprise you, but this is both better than the movies and The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. Are we surprised? Absolutely not. Both of these are Lynn Painter's YA, and I am obsessed with them. Again, both 5 stars. They're beautiful. Wesley, Nick, beautiful. Lynn Painter does this great thing where she literally puts my emotions on a page without me ever speaking to her, and I think it's beautiful. Better Than the Movies has great representation of how to handle grief over the years, and listen, Wes in this is absolutely stunning, and I love him. There is a movie quote at the beginning of every single chapter that kind of informs you where our characters are, and I think it's insanely well done. I love this book so much. As for The Do-Over, this has beautiful representation of being a child of divorce. If you have not experienced divorce in your life, I am so happy for you. However, this does have that, and I love Nick so much. His version of telling Emily his feelings is absolutely stunning and beautiful and perfect. And both of these are stunning and beautiful and perfect, and I think you should read them. And I'm going to keep recommending them, again, until the end of time. Just read Lynn Painter, essentially, is what I'm saying. Now we're going to be talking about romance. And again, probably you're not going to be surprised by any of these, but here we are. The first one I'm going to be recommending is standing in for a different book because I don't own the physical copy of it as of this moment, but I will be owning the physical copy of it very soon. So this is Hot House Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie, the second book in the Calloway Sisters series, but this is standing in for Kiss the Sky, which is the first book in this series. And again, you're not going to be surprised when I tell you why. Connor Cobalt is the reason for the Calloway Sisters recommendation. He is everything. He is stunning. He is beautiful. He is perfect. And I love him just till the end of time. End of time, to the end of the universe, everything. He's beautiful, and I think it's an amazing series. I have yet to read the second one in this series because I am working my way through the Addicted series, which might be coming up. But I love the writing in this. I love Connor and Rose. I love the premise of it. It's wild, and it does not have third act miscommunication. It has a very surprising conflict in it, but it is stunning. So this is standing in for Kiss the Sky, but I will have Kiss the Sky eventually. But in general, the Calloway Sisters, obviously. The next one, I don't think I've really talked about that much, but like, y'all, Beach Read by Emily Henry. This shouldn't surprise you because, as you guys know, I love a good book about writing books. And also, Augustus Everett. That man's hot as hell, and I love him. I read this book in 2021, and it was exactly what I ended up needing at the time. I read it in August of that year, and it was beautiful and made me cry. This was also a 5-star read for me. It was so good. So good. I think it might actually be my favorite Emily Henry, and genuinely, January and Augustus's relationship is beautiful, and January's grief and dealing with her grief is also beautiful, and her journey to get to a place of acceptance with her father's passing and just in general her father was just overwhelming, and I loved it. And I will probably never read something as good as this by Emily Henry. I don't think she can top this, but she can try, and I'll probably still read it. But yes, I think that Beach Read is the best Emily Henry, and January and Augustus. That's all I can say. The next one I also don't think I've talked about as much, but that's The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood. Obviously, this is Raylo fanfic that got published, if you couldn't tell by literally the characters on the cover, but I love them, and this wasn't 5 stars. It was, I believe, 4 for me, and it was the last book I read in 2021. Overall, I love this book for the way that their relationship builds. I don't really care about the smut scene in this. That doesn't hold any weight for me in my rating, actually. I think what's more important is their relationship and how they end up growing to be in love with each other. And the moment that really does it for me is when Adam sticks up for Olive, and it was just like, I think it is a great representation of that weird fake dating trope. And luckily, this, while they are both in the college setting and Olive is a PhD student and Adam is a professor, he is not her professor, which allows me the ability to like this much more. I don't really like the whole teacher-student trope when they are actually in the same class with each other, but I did enjoy this, and I thought that the writing really lent itself to getting inside Olive's brain, and I loved it. So I would recommend this 10 times over. This book is also going to stand in for the first book, but in general, the whole series. My first book is currently lent out to my friend, so that's why I don't have it. But the Fortuna Sworn series, this is Restless Slumber, which is not my favorite in the series. Actually, my favorite in the series right now is Deadly Dreams. But the Fortuna Sworn series is stunning and I love it. And it might be my favorite fantasy romance series of all time. Don't tell Sarah J. Maas. But I think that this book has so many interesting conversations happening within it. We have a marriage of convenience. We have Fortuna coming into this world that she has literally never expected to be a part of and becoming this greater version of herself. We have her brother in this going through some insane things. The danger in this feels very palpable. Deadly Dreams had me literally sobbing my eyes out. And in general, the relationship between not only Fortuna and her marriage of convenience husband Colith, but Fortuna's relationship with every single character in this book is the reason I love it so much. She goes from being this really lonely person to having this beautiful mismatched family that is just amazing to see. I love her journey and I can't wait to finish Beautiful Nightmares so that way I can get excited for Endless Terrors coming out in March. But genuinely, the Fortuna Sworn series is my favorite fantasy romance series of all time. I genuinely can't think of anything better than it, so please read it. The next one is Happenstance by Tessa Bailey. This is the only This is the only Tessa Bailey book on this list because Happenstance was so fast. It is so short. But it is also my first reverse harem. And there was just crack put into this book. Like, genuinely crack put into this book. I can't tell you literally anything other than I just couldn't put it down. Like, that genuinely spoke to me. I was like, wow, I gotta keep reading this book. Also, it's so short that you can get through it, no problem. But there was just something put into this that was like, I need it. And listen, if Tessa Bailey writes anything else with these characters, I'm gonna read it immediately. Because I think, number one, all of the men in this book are hot. They just are. They just are, okay? Banks? I say no more. You should read this just for Banks because he's hot as hell. But also, in general, this book is so wild, but such a fun time. And I think that everyone should read it just because it's a good time. The next book is for a series, but also is my favorite in the series. And I'm going to recommend the entire Dreamland Billionaires series. This is the third book, The Final Offer. I gave this book 5 stars. It is by far my favorite of the entire trilogy. I love Cal and Alana so much. Cal's journey in this book is stunning, and I think that this series is so good. I read the fine print and terms and conditions last year. I read The Final Offer the week it came out. All 3 books are great when you read them as a whole series. This is my favorite because of the slow burn elements as well as the journey that Cal goes on in this. But to get to this, you have to read the first and second one. Rowan was on the Fictional Men of 2022 list. Declan was an honorable mention in that list. I just overall love this series. I think the will part of this is kind of crazy, but also really fun to think about. And I love seeing the culmination of all of their relationships in this book. The extended epilogue in this book made me absolutely cry my eyes out. There's also the single mom trope in here, and it's beautiful. And I will not stop talking about the Dreamland Billionaires series ever. I think that they are so good, and I think you should read them, specifically so you can get to The Final Offer and fall in love with Cal. The next book is also for a series, but I'm not recommending the whole series. I'm only recommending this book. These are interconnected standalones, so you don't technically need to read all of them, thank God, because I don't think you should read all of them. But that's going to be Twisted Kate by Anna Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Twisted series, but it is also my favorite book in the Twisted series and the only one that I own. Let me just say, Josh Chen is hot as hell, but also I love the weirdness of the relationship between him and Jules in this book. I think it's very interesting. Yes, you see the first two couples in this book, but I don't really care about them. They're not part of the big plot of this. And granted, I am going to put this out there. Almost all of the Anna Huang conflicts are very dramatic. I'm going to tell you that. This has a very weird dramatic plot in it. But at the end of the day, the smut in here is amazing, and Josh Chen is hot as hell. So obviously I'm going to continue to push my Josh Chen agenda. And the very last book, which none of you are going to be surprised about, is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. We're not surprised. We're not surprised because obviously they're going to be on here. Addicted to You is the first book in the Addicted series, which is also interconnected with the Calloway Sisters series. You get to meet Connor Cobalt in here for the very first time, and you get to witness the relationship between Connor and Rose building and beginning. But most importantly, this book is 5 stars for Lily and Lauren, who I love to death. They're, granted, they are not perfect. Their struggles are very real, and I enjoy the conversation of their addictions. However, I love this series so far. I've read the first book as well as I think it's like 1.5 technically. Oh no, it's 2. Just kidding. I've read the first 2 books in this series and I have loved them. There is just something about watching this whole journey between Lily and Lauren happen. If you don't know what this book is about, goodness gracious, I don't know what I can say at this point. This is following Lily and Lauren. They are both addicts. Lauren is an alcoholic and Lily is a sex addict. They have been enabling each other for years. And finally, after something happens to Lauren, they are starting to get the help that they absolutely need. And at the end of this book has one of the most beautiful moments that made me cry. And I love it. I love their journey. You get to see the beginning of their journey. You get to see the beginning of Connor and Rose. And I'm just looking forward to finishing this series because I know Krista and Becca Ritchie aren't going to do me wrong with it. I'm just in love with them. And I think that you guys should read this series because obviously it's stunning. So that's me pushing my agenda for all of the books that I'm obsessed with. Granted, I don't think any of these were surprises for you guys because I talk about them probably constantly. But now you have the for sure list of books that I'm obsessed with and that I think you should all read always, constantly. Just read them. Please, please, please. I'm sure that I'm going to end up having more books that I'm obsessed with because obviously, why wouldn't I? So yeah, if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of my recommendations. If you have any recommendations for me, I would love to. Also, if you're wondering why there weren't any KU romances listed in here, that video might be coming soon. Because I have a whole video planned for that. So, and if you guys like this content, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Read better than the movies! Read all of these books! Please! Bye, guys.